Hey, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. We are back with round 2 with green white Maverick, I was gonna say. We're back with blue red Delver up against Shakeline, so we're on the play, which is really nice. And I think this hand is okay. We have a double Delver start, which is really nice. We have a little bit of interaction with Spell Pierce. We have access to both colors and a Brainstorm, so we don't have any sort of fast permission like Force or Daze, but I think I'm pretty happy to keep this. Shakeline I've played against a few times. I'm just not too sure what they're on. I feel like they could be on Maverick, but I guess we'll find out. If they are, I'm pretty happy to go Island Island as my start and play around Wasteland really well. Swamp, interesting. Well, that's a little bit scary. I think I'm going to pause here because I want to act like mine have Daze, but I don't think it's correct to hold up Spell Pierce, but maybe it's correct to hold up Brainstorm. Alright. Opponent goes to 5, interesting. Unmask. Okay. Brainstorm. Tough spot. See if we can get out of it. It's going to be tough though. Brazen Borrower is pretty good. Bolt wouldn't be the worst because we can actually block. Oh. Sadly, that's not where we want to be. I think sadly it's a concession here. I don't see us getting back after they swing for 7. But at least we know what we're up against. So boarding against Reanimator. I definitely like Surgical. I definitely like Grafdiggers. I also like Flusterstorm as early, just early counter magic. I think we can probably bottom the bolts. Stifle's interesting. I don't think it's good enough though. I still like Spell Pierce. I think they work on pretty low margins. Other than Dark Ritual, I don't think they really have a way to make use of most of their mana. I believe they're around like a 14 land deck with Lotus Petals, so I'm pretty happy to have the Spell Pieces in. Blue Elemental Blast is interesting because it does counter Faithless Looting, but that's really it, to my knowledge. I don't think anything else is worth it. We actually have one more card we can bring in. Null Rod's interesting, but it only hits Lotus Petal. Stifle can... Stifle can hit things like Ashen Rider or Grizzlebrand Pay. I think it also can hit Animate Dead, but I don't think it's worth... I might just have one in the deck as a kind of just in case, but I think I'm happy with that. This 6 seems fine, and it means that we don't have to side too hard out of our just main strategy of beatdown, so I'm pretty happy to see how this goes. At least we can mulligan pretty well. Especially if we have a 7 with no interaction, then it's pretty easily going to be a mulligan to 6 to try to find that Force or Daze or Surgical or Cage. It's always interesting as well because if my opponent maybe thinks we're on ley lines and has brought in some sort of ley line effect to kill it, like the green card that is free, I should know this. Revered Silence, there we go. If they bring in Revered Silence and we have Grafdigger's Cage, obviously they're going to have a pretty bad time. But if they're on something like Assassin's Trophy or a Wear Tear, then they're going to have an answer for it anyway. So we'll definitely play first. This hand is fantastic. We'll keep this. Hopefully they don't have Chancellor, but we still have the Force, which is nice. One card or one strategy that I do have to consider from my opponent is something like Dark Ritual into Pack Rat or Rotting Regisaur, because we aren't too well prepared for that. So I think this Force of Will is most likely just to try to keep this Grafdigger's Cage around. Unmask. I think this is okay. I don't want to 2-for-1 myself, so I'm going to let this resolve. Interesting. So they were just looking for our hand to see if we brought in any other spells. So luckily they saw Grafdigger's Cage. They didn't see Surgical. They didn't see Flusterstorm. But now they're well prepared to hopefully attack the Grafdigger's Cage that we brought in Game 3. So definitely have to consider maybe what they're bringing in. I'm going to assume Wear Tear is the card that we're looking at. I believe it's the wear part. I believe it's the wear part that's red, but I don't think that's worth bringing in Blue Elemental Blast in for. I think it's worth just running back what we have. I think this is pretty well suited. This is an interesting one. We have some nice counter magic in Force and Daze. We also have a really nice setup with Delver and Young Pyromancer. But what we don't have is just good old Graveyard Hate. So this is a really nice hand. You know, we have a great way to form some early aggression with Delver and Young Pyromancer. We have some cheap cantrips to go and find maybe Surgical or Grafdigger's Cage. And we actually have two ways to kind of protect us if we get a turn. We have both Force pitching, most likely one of these two cantrips, and then also Daze back up. So I'm going to keep this. Even though it doesn't have... It dies to Chancellor, and we don't have anything to really do to turn off their graveyard. We do have Daze and Force, which is... I think it's okay. But perhaps in this matchup, I'm just unaware, and I should be... I think I'm happy here to hit the Ritual. They're actually only on... This is an interesting one. So they only have 2 cards left. So I'm going to assume it's Entomb and then a Reanimate effect. And I think I'm happy to actually let this slide and try to get all the cards, because with only 2 cards in hand, they can't have Hand Disruption, take Force, and then go off. So now we can force this, hit the Reanimate, and we'll pitch the Preordain. And it looks like it was just a force check, so... this is a feeling that I don't get playing Maverick, because of course it is a fair deck, it's a non-blue deck. But this is really how sometimes the Reanimator decks go against the blue decks with Force of Will. Unfortunate for my opponent, going down to 5 cards. But sometimes that's just what you get for playing Reanimator. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't have it, sometimes your opponent has it, sometimes your opponent doesn't have it. And luckily this time, we took the time to look at our hand, assess that we did have a pretty good game plan. We had some counter magic to actually stop our opponent from, going ahead with their strategy, and it worked out really well for us. So that takes us to 2-0, which is a great feeling. We'll see you back in for round 3. Thanks for stopping by.